Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku became the Lion of UA Part 2. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see Part 3, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗵𝗲 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. Izuku, get your butt up, you're gonna be late. Izuku groaned in his sleep. His mother sure was loud from the other side of the door. To make his point, she knocked loudly on it several times just to see if would wake up from it. Dumb hat time, is it? Izuku was looking for his phone among his sheets. Last night he accidentally broke his alarm clock because it went off out of nowhere in the middle of the night, which scared the living SHT out of the boy, who decided it was a good idea to throw 𝗧𝗲 at it. He looked over his phone. It was 7:30 a.m. He still had about 1 hour 30 minutes to meet up with Toga at the train station. Screw it, the early bird gets the worm. With a groan he jumped out of his comfortable bed, making his way out his room to the main restroom down the hall. Upon entering, he examined himself over in the mirror, taking his clothes off for a better view. Large purple bruises were all over his body. He flinched at the sight of them, almost puking up as they were discolored and the veins were greenish. He received these from his sparring with Escanor yesterday. Who knew the old man could pack a punch? He thought as he was impressed of the remaining strength of the former Sunshine user. So this is what Escanor was talking about: Sunshine healing and damaging me. Izuku felt his ribs reforming slowly as Sunshine was healing him, but at the same time damaging him internally, since his human body couldn't withstand the full might of it. Well, it doesn't matter anyways. After all, I am a supreme being. Flexing his swollen biceps in the mirror, he relished the tightening, bulging of it as glistening in the artificial light. Izuku, hurry up and get ready. Stop looking at yourself in the mirror, you pervert, Inko yelled out from outside the restroom. A laughing Escanor boomed outside as well, saying something on the lines of, "Teens are so weird." "Yes, ma'am." The sulking boy proceeded to take a cold shower. Train station, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, sir." Izuku quietly apologized to just about every person he moved past, though most of them didn't even seem to care as they were in a hurry like him. The teen was getting somewhat annoyed as he hurried along, feeling slightly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of the people around him. Looking back on it, he felt somewhat triggered. Why was a train station so damned packed? Granted the fact, he hadn't been on the train in years, so he wasn't familiar with what days were busier than others. Not to mention it's the first day of the opening of the fair, so that would explain everything. He was dressed in a well-fitted black long-sleeved that hugged his muscles beautifully, dark blue jeans, and steel-toe brown Wolverine boots. He had also brought his messenger bag just in case he needed it. The bag was full of snacks and extra money thanks to his mother, who still couldn't believe he was going to meet up with a girl. Man, I swear, why do I always feel like a piece of meat in public? Izuku tried his best to ignore the hungry stares he received from all around. He could hear faint whispers about his appearance, and most of them were from older women as they licked their lips slowly, taking in the sight of the young buff teen. Man, people sure are thirsty. He finally made it to the center of the ticketing area, waiting patiently for Toga to arrive. He was 10 minutes early after all. Sitting down on a nearby bench, he decided to 𝗕𝗶 his phone out and play Smash Bubble, a mobile game featuring All Might. Speaking of All Might, he did called Izuku last night to warn him about the drawbacks of using One for All, since his body is not really trained to handle the shock force. Not to mention him and his idol talked for hours about heroes and more of their own past. Izuku learned a lot more of the new power his possess. Only issue is that it still hasn't made itself known yet. Maybe later on today he can train after all this, hopefully. His phone suddenly went off and he smiled, looking at the caller ID. Hello, he answered nervously. Hey Izuku, it's me, Toga. I have some bad news. She sounded sad when she spoke. What's wrong? Are you okay? Where are you? Izuku was now worried as so many thoughts were going through his mind. It's just, I'm sorry I can't make it today. I had a death in the family last night and I forgot to tell you. I was so stressed. I'm sorry if you're mad, please forgive me. Toga started to cry over the line, which made Izuku heart-wrenched. Hey, it's okay, it's alright. Hey, don't worry about the fair thing. Family comes first no matter what, and if there's anything I can do, please let me know. Izuku was walking back and forth slowly in a line. He truly didn't know what to do, but hopefully she was okay. "You really are adorable." The line ended, the static from the other empty line gave him goosebumps. Suddenly Izuku felt small arms wrapped around him from behind, startling the poor teen who was freaked out by this sudden act. Trying to move away, he failed because the person would not let go as they squeezed tighter around his waist. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm the guy you're looking for." He was about to just pry the hands off of him but stopped dead in his tracks. A familiar voice replied quietly. "You're so dim and stupid, I swear." The person let go. Izuku whipped his whole body around and was met with a appealing goddess. It was a smiling Toga. She was wearing a yellow cropped top hoodie, covering just past her BRC area. Black high-waisted combat pants with many pockets that fitted her nicely as it hugged all her curves and edges. Along with the outfit, she wore black combat boots. She also had an orange bandana tied around her neck that had polka dots on it, and not to mention her hair was tied in a 𝗬𝗍𝗵𝗲 ponytail which made Izuku feel weak to the knees. On top of all that, Izuku couldn't help but notice her lips looked a bit more plumper than normal. She was wearing makeup but a very light application. For a few seconds, the boy just stared, stunned by Toga's appearance, almost forgetting the conversation they just had. "She looked quite delicious. Aren't you a perv looking at me like I'm some kind of juicy meat?" He was startled out of his own perverted thoughts. Izuku with a strong will came to his senses. "Toga!" He straightened up slightly, smiling awkwardly at the girl, backing up against the wall. "Why are you here? I thought you had a family member die. Are you okay?" "Oh. Well, my parents died years ago and I really don't have much of family anymore besides brother figures, but that's it." Toga's grin widened. She moved forward, pressing herself against Izuku's chest while maintaining eye contact with the boy. "I just wanted to get a rise out of you, that's all. Sorry if my sense of humor is a little dark." She whispered the last part, dragging her finger up and down his toned chest. Izuku shook his head as he adjusted his glasses. "No, not at all. I'm just glad you're okay." He stifled an awkward laugh. "I swear you're so obvious," she teased with a 𝗬𝗍 grin. Izuku felt a blush creep onto his face once again. What's that supposed to mean? This time Toga didn't hide her laughter. She backed up and started to laugh uncontrollably, causing the nearby people to look at the scene of the two in curiosity. "I mean, for one, you're so damn gullible, and two, I think all your BLD goes down there instead of your brain. You can't think straight when I'm near you." This only made Izuku flush with embarrassment. She was referring to his hormones clouding his common sense. "That's not true. 𝗕𝗓𝗓 was getting flabbergasted. He tried to calm down but didn't help when Toga went in for another hug, but this time she snuggled her head into his chest. While he had gotten much better about it since coming to you, Izuku still struggled when it came to conversating with girls, especially one-on-one. Toga's extreme personality could overwhelm him a bit, and her tendency to playfully tease him made him feel even more awkward than he normally did when it came to you. Girls. Not to mention he has tons of pictures in his gallery of her in lingerie that she sends him for research purposes, of course. He didn't really have the same sense of humor as her when they first met. Occasionally she will send him links to videos on Instastar of people getting into accidents or seriously hurt. At first it made him uncomfortable, but over time he had gotten used to it. Now he's starting to enjoy them now, as he will find some of his own and send it her way. Slowly but surely he's working on it. "Well, are you ready? Our train is going to be here in 2 minutes. She suddenly sprang to her feet, striking a pose. "Or are you still thinking about how I look and taste?" Izuku gulped. He could feel his mighty sword pulse with life, but with a strong determination he pushed himself off the wall. Izuku grabbed Toga's hand. Both proceeded to the front of the growing crowd as they could hear the train whistle. The blonde girl giggled. "I'll take that as a yes." Her face was glowing pink at this point. "Hopefully you like it. If you're a good boy, I might let you have a taste." She tippy-toed to his ear when they came to a stop. This sudden CC act caused the poor boy to have a minor nosebleed. "Please, Cammy, give me the strength for today." Entrance of the fair. The pair finally arrived at the fair after riding for 40 minutes on the train. Izuku became nauseous due to the crowded carts, as children were screaming and adults smoking on cancer sticks. What made it worse was that he pinned Toga against the corner of the cart by accident due to people shoving him. She didn't mind at all as she took advantage of this moment. She would tease him with provocative words while purposely brushing against him, letting her delicate hands run all over his swollen muscles. Toga's mind was running wild. Izuku, on the other, was fighting his inner demons, doing his best to not have his way with her, especially in a public area. "Are you ready for today?" Toga said as she made her way through the security checkpoint. "Yes, this is gonna be a first-time experience." Izuku followed her. He was examining his surroundings and he was surprised that a lot of people arrived here in the morning. Kids were jumping in excitement, adults were reliving their fond memories, and the seniors taking advantage of the many discounts they were offered. Izuku followed closely behind Toga as they proceeded to make their way to the ticket booth, making small talk amongst themselves as they waited in line. "So I heard your school got attacked by villains. Did you run away with your tail in between your legs?" She punched him lightly on the shoulder. Her innocent smile gave him butterflies in his stomach. "Me, please. I fell down the stairs that morning, so luckily I was in the nurse's office during the whole event." He shot back, making the girl burst in a fit of giggles. "Well, why am I not surprised at that? You clumsy goose." She regained her composure. They were up next to the ticket booth. She scanned over the many packages they had to offer. After a couple more seconds, she decided on the one she wanted. "Hello, how may I help today?" an older lady asked. She looked over the young, cute couple. "Hello, I would like to purchase the diamond pass for 2 people, and that includes all you can eat, play, and ride the rides." "Yes, ma'am, that's correct." "Alrighty, that would be 120 for both of y'all." The lady paused, typing buttons on her PS screen. "Would that be cash or card?" "Card." Toga pulled her wallet out and grabbed one of the many cards she's stolen off the bodies she killed recently. They still had faint traces of BLD on most of them, but to the untrained eye it looked like paint or worn-out usage. She was about to swipe the card until Izuku stopped her. "No, I will get it." With lightning speed he pulled out his debit card, swiping it and signing the signature part. He looked over to the clueless look of the girl and smiled. "Please, it's my treat, since you got us in here." "What a gentleman. Well, here are your passes. You guys enjoy your day." The lady was impressed by the gentleman's act. "You didn't have to do that, I could, huh?" Toga was interrupted by a look from Izuku that made her heart fluttered. He looked so caring as the sun behind him grew brighter, like a knight in shining armor she always dreamed about as a kid. "No, don't worry about that. Come on, let's go have fun." He offered his hand out. She gladly took it. Feeling butterflies in her stomach, the two ran off in a random direction, ready to have some fun. Meters away. "So that's the kid. He looks weak. Don't be fooled by appearance, Conquest. He's strong like Escanor." "Yeah, that may be true, but power does not equal experience in combat, and he lacks that." 3 figures were standing in the distance observing the teens, watching them practically running into game section. War and Death were dressed to blend in with the crowd. They both wore jeans and boots with matching shirts, except War had a panda face on his while Death had a tiger. A very tall figure stood behind the two. The nearby civilians glanced at the tall man who wore a biker jacket and dark pants. He had a golden mohawk, scars all over his face, and to mention he was built like a Spartan warrior. He was known as Conquest. "Well, whatever, why the hell are we here anyways? Can't Lilith just keep her eyes on the kid and not use us as spice? We are warriors, not rats." Conquest was getting grumpy. He hated not being in the action. Ever since they arrived here a couple of weeks ago, he was not allowed to have any fun yet. Lilith keeps him in check. Demon, he wished he could kill some humans even if they were from another world with strange powers. His stomach growled in hunger. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. "F this, I'm going to get some grub." Conquest walked away towards the food court. "Hey, where are you going?" Death called out after him. Her outburst gained the attention of the nearby people who stared at the pale girl oddly. "What the F are y'all staring at? Please let this day go by fast." War muttering to himself as he flushed with embarrassment. He hated being in large crowds, him being the demon war horseman. How the hell does he go into battle but can't handle a small crowd? Maybe it's because he wanted to murder these humans, but sadly he couldn't due to Lilith's strict orders. "Please give me strength for today." Conquest continued onward, trying his best to ignore his comrades as they followed him like lost, irritated puppies. Izuku POV. Dozens of people were scattered across the area where the many attractions were placed. From time to time, I hear high-pitched screams coming from children and shouts from the adults. It makes me anxious just thinking about it. I was standing next to an excited Toga. who by this point was jumping up and down like a child. She couldn't decide on what ride she wanted to ride on. I swear she looked so cute, especially in her outfit. Hey, have you decided on which one yet? Hell yeah, I want one that will make me feel the rush of life, gives me a sense of death, she tells me. Her face was pink. Well, you lead the way, Captain, I mocked saluted her. I followed Toga around like a lost puppy, but I didn't mind at all. Eventually we came across a ride named the Demon Hawk. The ride is decorated with large red devil wings on the sides and the front was shaped like a hawk head. Sadly, the ride had only 15 seats, meaning we had to wait in line for a bit. Each seat has a bar above it that slowly comes over you to protect you and sidebars that you lock in place. They sure take safety seriously. It can't be that bad, right? The ride itself didn't seem bad at all, until I see how it really operates. In seconds, the whole row of seats became unlocked as steam escaped. The wings suddenly opened up and expand outwards, then closing. The head of the ride roared as steam escaped its nose. The eyes glowed red. Have you ever danced with the devil? Ride me if you dare, you mortals. You want to ride that? I stare at Toga with wide eyes and pointed with a shaky index finger at the death contraption. She looks back at me with an excited childish face. Hell yeah, you silly goose. Don't worry, I will hold your hand, you scaredy cat. After waiting for 10 minutes, I follow Toga up the long stairs to get up to the platform with the row of seats. The male operator tried to contain his laughter at seeing me practically having a death lock on a bubbling girl. I plopped down into one of the seats next to Toga, waiting for the bars to come down and lock in place. Please, Cammy, protect me. Please have mercy on this perverted soul. Sir, I'm going to need you to take off your glasses and put them somewhere safe. Don't want them flying off, do you? One of the female operators came next to me. She put a hand on my shoulder with a gleaming smile. She looked about our age and looked very familiar. Oh yes, I'm sorry. I looked over her features. Her skin is a light shade of pink. Her eyes were Scara black and their irises bright yellow. Her face is framed by unruly hair, which is also a pleasant pink color. She has two thin, pale yellow horns protruding from her head, hooked squarely and leaning diagonally to opposite sides. It's quite all right. Wait, you're Izuku, right? We're in the same class at UA. She jumped up cheerily. Yeah, that's Mio, must be Mina Ishido. She smiled and striked a flashing pose. Yeah, that's me. Wow, small world, am I right? You're like the second person I've seen outside of Shu. Lo, my god, is this your girlfriend? She leaned over me, almost pressing her chest in my face. She smelled very nice, almost like cotton candy. No. What? I tried to speak, but I can feel my throat tightened and face flushed at the sudden act. Hello, I'm Mina, nice to meet you. Oh my god, I love your outfit, it's so cute. SH was practically fangirling over here. I glanced over thinking Toga may have been creeped out or nervous, and boy was I wrong. Nice to meet you, my name is Toga and please he's more of my man, isn't that right, Izuku? Toga face was bright pink, her wide grin blinded the other two, who knew her sharp teeth were super white. She whispered the last part, which made me be sent into overdrive and caused Mina to blush. Hey Ishido, I need your help over at the Twister Doom, let's go. A older female yelled from behind. I assume it was her boss. Yes, I'll be right there. Mina turned back to us with a disappointed look. Well, I hope you guys enjoy your ride, and Toga, it was nice to meet. Y'all be safe. With that she waved us goodbye, leaving in a hurry. Yeah, see you later. Me and Toga waved goodbye to the pink girl. So that's one of your classmates, huh? Good thing she doesn't have thing for you, or I would have to tie her up and run her but over. My survival instincts went off as I turned to see Toga with a look I never knew she possessed. A shadow casted on her face. Her frown was foreign to me, but her eyes glowed red, which really sent shivers down my spine. Toga, you okay? Was it hot out today, or was it just me? I was sweating tremendously under her predatory gaze. You don't have a thing for her, right? Tell me, Izuku, you don't like that pink bubblegum girl, right? Or is it just me? She leaned in into my face. We were inches apart from each other. Her dark intent was radiating off of her, and I had a feeling everyone around us shuddered away. No, I swear there's nothing going on between us, just a classmate, I promise. Are you sure? Yes, ma'am, I swear. Okay, good. I don't know if her body went into restart mood or what. She backed up, went back to her normal enthusiastic self. like nothing ever happened. I thought I was gonna die. Wiping my sweat off my forehead, I sighed in relief. Girls can be really scary. Especially this one. The seats start to fill up with kids, teenagers, and adults. As soon as the last person was seated, the bar slowly comes down over us. But it doesn't stop, it keeps coming down and squishing me. It didn't help how I felt my growing muscles fighting against the bars, but eventually after a little war it finally submitted, locking in place. I look over at Toga, who is wide-eyed and swinging her hands. I try not to laugh at her childish expression, at the same time it was pretty cute. Alrighty folks, enjoy the ride to the Devil's Door. With a shitty warning, we zoomed fast like a bullet up the tracks. I looked to the side as I griped the SHT out of my glasses and Toga's free hand. People on the ground got tiny and hard to see. 𝗕𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗶𝗍 what the hell? I screamed at the top of my lungs as we were now upside down going into a dark tunnel. Toga roars with laughter and I try look at her, but the G-force was pushing my head back down. After going into loops a couple more times, the ride seems to get faster and faster. The feeling of my magic bubbling inside me comfort me. The wind and being in the air is exhilarating as the sunlight is washing over me. 𝗕𝗵𝗍𝗍. I raised my arms in the air for the final downwards tilt. In a matter of minutes, the ride ends. Coming to a quick stop, the bar comes up. I was a little sad that it ended, but there's more rides that need to be ridden. I go down the stairs, exiting the ride. I went behind Toga, you know. That wasn't too bad, I actually enjoyed that. Putting my glasses back on, feeling my warm magic leaving me once again. I know, right? Toga exclaims. Now let's stop riding the kiddie stuff. Let's go find another ride. She grabbed my hand, dragging me away with her. We ended up coming across a very large ring death contraption. Inside that ring was a roller coaster cart very similar to the one we just rode. It was called the Red Ring of Fire. Does this one go in a constant loop? I asked Toga, trying to understand the full concept of the ride. Yep. The ring also dislocks and so it also rotates, so you're kinda going in a loop but also while the ring is spinning at the same time. Toga turns and grins evilly at me. I slowly step back, shaking my head and muttering, no no no. Toga grabs a hold of my other hand. Come on you big baby, let's go. After an internal battle with myself, I've decided to go. I mean, you only die once. Right? We get in the pretty decent line and waited for a short time for a metal door to open for us. This ride has a bit more stairs and obstacles than the first one. The ring is higher up for some odd reason. Toga picks the first seats at the front of the coaster. There is a bar like almost the same as the other ride, but this one had the grown area protection and for sure it was less tight on me. Then people of all ages filled in. We are all facing forward, waiting in anticipation. Taking my glasses off, I took a big breath in of the cool breeze. I glance over at Toga. You ready for this? I hope we still have the stomach to eat later on. We shall see, cutie. Don't pass out on me, she smirks. Alrighty everyone, get ready, let's go. In about 3 seconds everything became a spinning blur, getting faster and faster. I feel a pressure on my neck. I tried to lift it up but to no use, I was pushed down again. My arms hang freely as we were going upside down now. This is what it felt like. It was exhilarating. The ride started to make odd loud steam noises. I could feel us shifting to the right a little. Not only is the ride spinning, but it's rotating where everybody is going in weird directions. It's incredibly blurring. We're whirling so fast it's impossible to see anything. With each loop, my poor head is pounding as my ears popped. I scream louder than Toga. I'm pretty positive all of the fair could hear me. The feeling of going in high-speed loops is just a matter of throwing up. I stay silent the whole time and don't even worry about Toga. Finally, the ride stops and I'm able to lift my head up with struggle. The safety device is unlocked. My legs felt like pudding. They wobble as I'm exiting slowly behind a upbeat blonde girl. Suddenly, I feel an arm wrap around my waist. You okay, silly goose? Her yellow eyes looks at me with pure concern with a hint of amusement. I breathe heavily, trying to regain my composure. Yeah, that was one wild ride, but I had a lot of fun, not gonna lie. Toga leads me to a bench that looked super rough, but once my butt touched it was heavenly. I lean against the back of the bench, letting my head hang back. I take deep breaths and bring my head back up to stare at a smiling Toga. What? Is there something on my face? I'm in the mood for funnel cake and ice cream, Toga says with a row of sparkling white teeth, making me blush as she winked at me haughtily. I groan. Wait, let me recuperate first. Heck no. Race your butt to the concession stand. Toga pecks my cheek and starts running off. I stared at her and laughed the loudest I've laughed in a long time. Her lips were soft and I wished I had more of it. Here I come. I hopped off the bench and ran after her. Hearing her giggles made my heart flutter. I can't believe I'm falling in love. End of POV. Ah, that's so cute, Death said as she watched the two run towards the concession stand. Didn't know human food was this good. Conquest continued to eat his massive turkey leg and fries. He wasn't really paying attention to the situation. All morning he's been eating random large plates of food, which sickens War. You're so freaking gross, can't you learn that you're overeating? War stands from the table and slowly walks away in disgust. I swear he complains too much. Every day he's bitching and whining. Death follows after a grumpy War. Why do I feel like I'm babysitting? Conquest continued to sit and finished his meal. Major time skip. Whoa, it's already 6 p.m. Time sure does go by fast. Thank you for inviting me today. I had a lot of fun. Izuku put his phone away after checking the time. Him and Toga sat in a table booth. Earlier they both decided to eat at a barbecue shack near the back of the fair. The heavenly smell of the ribs being cooked outside is what seduced them into it. And so here they are, after a long day of having fun. I should be thanking you, she looked at him smiling as she pointed to the taken space next to her. Without you I would never had won all these prizes. Holy. There was 2 large bags filled with all sorts of teddy bears and small knickknacks. Toga had an awesome time playing the games and riding the rides with Izuku. She occasionally took pictures of them and silly off-guard snaps of Izuku snacking on food. She loved spending every minute with him. It made her feel at peace, besides the point of wanting to slice his neck and lick the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗂𝗏 hopefully. Well, I'm glad I was able to help. The boy glanced over to the large tower of bagged prizes that say next to her. He felt he went overboard, but at the same time her smile is what made it worth it each time he won a game for her. I might just have to bring you everywhere I go then. You're my little luck charm. Toga perked up as the boy turned red at her comment. A waitress came by to take their orders. Once she was gone, the two continued to converse about a variety of topics, such as their school life, heroes, villains, and other hobbies and interests they each had. They managed to learn quite a bit more about each other in person rather than phone. Unsurprisingly, Toga continued to take up the majority of the conversation. She was leaving out the part that she kills people for fun and is part of a villain organization, and not to mention was vague about her transformation quirk. As time went on, the boy found himself growing more and more comfortable talking to her. It turned out they had a bit more in common than he thought, and her cheery, bubbly attitude made him feel he could be a bit more open with her. Leaving out his sunshine ability and Escanor, of course, she'd still tease him, and he'd still say things that turned him into a stuttering mess. But overall, he was surprised at how well things seemed to be going during this whole day. Not to mention earlier with the roller coaster rides, she practically dragged Izuku with her on each ride. Her excitement was something else, but it warmed his heart just see her act like a child. During this whole day he occasionally got the impression she was flirting with him at each chance she had. But he quickly dismissed those thoughts as he pushed his perverted demons down. Eventually, their food arrived. They continued to talk as they ate, though the conversation did slow down a bit for Izuku, since he was enjoying his smothered ribs and Toga who was digging into her barbecue brisket nachos. Before long, they were finished with their meals. Man, I'm stuffed. Toga suddenly rose to her feet. Alrighty, let's go. Already? She raised an eyebrow at the boy's confusion. Yes, silly goose. She stepped out of the booth, holding out a hand. Come on, don't you hear that music playing? Come dance with me. She was pointing toward the back of the establishment where the music was coming from. Izuku looked like a kid who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He had forgotten this place had a dancing/karaoke section near the back. Which was odd, but hey, it's Japan. Well, I can't dance. I have 2 left feet. While that was certainly true, he was mostly trying to come up with an excuse not to completely embarrass himself in front of everyone. Toga just grinned wider. That's okay, There's a first for everything. She grabbed his arm, yanking the poor boy out of his seat. Wait, what about your prizes? Oh God. This was not good for him. Relax, they'll be there when we get back. She practically ran towards the dance floor, dragging a helpless Izuku along with her. She pushed past a couple of people who were already dancing. Realizing she wasn't going to take no for an answer, he submitted. Okay. Toga had pulled Izuku in the far corner of the dance floor, for privacy reasons. The two of them were surrounded by other couples and kids, music blaring as the fairy lights came on. It was magical for Toga but overwhelming for the Izuku. But despite his heart pounding against his rib cage, he stood his ground. He wasn't gonna pee out. Says. He was a bit too distracted by Toga shaking her butt in front of him. Toga wasted no time getting into the beat of the next song that came on, Dancing with a Stranger. She was like a whirlwind, moving wildly in every way she could. At a glance, it looked wild and chaotic, but if one paid attention they would see there was an order to it, a rhythm she was following. She looked so appealing as her ponytail danced with life. And her bub bouncing up and down nicely. Izuku felt mesmerized by the display of her skills. The way her body swung, how every part of her just seemed to completely loosen up. She looked like a completely different person. And of course, she had the biggest, sexiest smile on her face the whole time. Man, let me take them diamond clothes off and stuff you like bitch pull it together, man, you're in public. Sheathe your weapon. He felt his pants slightly tightened. Come on Izuku, show me what you got. Toga yelled over the upbeat music. What? Izuku had been so distracted by trying to calm his growing member, he almost forgot why he was there. Just start by tapping your foot. Even a child can do it. She was moving her foot up and down, showing him. He followed her instructions, trying to keep his foot on time with the music. Yeah, that's it. Now let your body flow with the rhythm. Toga started bouncing up and down a bit, doing spins. She didn't stop. Once again, Izuku did his best to follow her movements. He could only imagine how bad this looked. At the same time he was glad no one around was paying attention to them as they were lost in their own world. You're too stiff, dude. You look like a stick, be like water. She shouted over the music. You gotta let yourself go with the flow, like water. Flow like water, huh? Flow with the rhythm. Slowly, the green-haired teen calmed himself down. He started to concentrate on just the music, trying to drown out any other noise, including and encouraging Toga. He thought about how Toga moved, how it seemed every muscle in her body was loose and relaxed. He inhaled, then slowly exhaled, trying to get rid of his nerves. You got this, just breath in and out, in and out, in and out. Hell yeah. You're doing it, keep it up. Opening his eyes, Izuku realized he had begun to subconsciously move his body back and forth. Toga was beaming, giving him a couple of thumbs up as she resumed dancing next to him. Feel that beat, Izuku. Izuku's face turned red in embarrassment, but he was happy his body was moving on instinct. He still wasn't very good, he could tell. At least compared to his companion who was shaking the floor up with her wild, bold dance moves. But he continued, no longer caring how ridiculous he may have looked. Toga continued to cheer him on as she continued to watch the boy carefully. The two continued to dance the evening away, both grinning like idiots the whole time. Izuku and Toga lost track of how long they danced. All he knew was that several songs had played, all of which Toga exclaimed she loved. Each time, the more inexperienced dancer needed to readjust to the beat, but he always managed to get back into it before long, joining her side once again. After a while, the two were starting to get tired. Izuku was actually amazed Toga managed to keep going for this long with how much she put into her moves. Occasionally they would bump into each other, but they didn't mind at all. Suddenly the song switched to a much quieter melody. Slow dancing in the dark, a much slower rhythm. For a moment, Izuku was unsure of what to do. The beat wasn't really quick enough to dance the way he had been keeping up with this whole time. Looking around, he tried to see what everyone else was doing around him. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. His eyes went wide at what surrounded him. A lot of couples were holding each other while moving side to side romantically as they kissed and basically dry humped each other. Oh, I love this song. Toga exclamation made him turn back to her. She was looking at him with them yellow puppy eyes. 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗍. His awkwardness was quickly returning. Maybe we should take a little break. Ah, come on Izuku. He tensed up as Toga leaned against his chest, resting her hands on the back of his neck. Just relax. Besides, I owe you a favor anyways, right? Izuku gulped, his cheeks burning bright red. Right? Telling himself one more dance can't be all that bad, especially when she is practically grinding on you. After all, they are on a date technically. Still, he decided to at least try it out, no backing out. Slowly, reluctantly, he rested his hands on her curvy sides as the two started to sway back and forth slowly. Toga took the lead of Izuku's movements as they danced, making sure he didn't trip over himself. He was much taller than her. He would occasionally get out of place but quickly corrected himself. He started to get the hang of it quickly, which surprised Toga a little. She decided to pick up the pace. They each locked into one another's eyes during the whole dance. Toga's yellow eyes were almost hypnotic, putting Izuku into a sort of trance as he watched her pupils grow slightly bigger as the light shines off of them. Damn, she is perfect, not just her eyes but her laughter, her gorgeous smile, her sense of humor. Even though it's dark, she makes me smile. Oh God, what was he thinking? Toga, on the other hand, had been struggling this whole time with herself. She did her best to keep her antics down, such as the cutting and physical torture she loves doing daily. In truth, today was a very unique day for her. She managed to not slice Izuku with her hidden combat knife or anyone in that fact. Her favorite part of today was when they went on the sludge ball roller coaster and Izuku almost passed out from the G-force. She took a quick video of it and luckily her phone didn't fly away. Or when he played against the Test Your Strength game and with the hammer he broke the machine as he sent the bell high in the sky. She smiled at the memories she had with him today, but she needed more. This dance with him made her feel funny in a way. She just couldn't resist the temptation anymore. She needed him inside her badly, that warm BLD of his. It's another voice in the back of her head that's trying to make her do it. Hey Sue. Toga's voice sounded quieter than usual as she pressed her head against his chest in comfort. Are you okay? He suddenly became aware of her body growing tense. Yeah, just thank you. She dug deeper into him, practically hugging him. For what? Are you sure you're okay? Izuku finished confusingly. Yeah. Toga clamped her eyes shut, as her teeth were grinding each other furiously. Her feet started to tap viciously, her head began to hurt as she was battling with her inner herself. Please stop, not yet, just RIP his fucking throat. Oh, please don't make me, please, he's a nice guy. That's how they all are until they learn the truth about you and your demon psychopath nature. You think he will accept it? She was battling her inner desires. She could feel her bloodlust taking over slowly. She was trying so hard to push this feeling down, but she couldn't resist anymore. All these emotions she was feeling all once was confusing her. She needed to feel more than just his touch. She needed his buldan. That voice in the back of her head was not helping at all. Toga, look at me please. Izuku was patting her back softly as she kept muttering to herself crazily. Hearing her name, Toga's voices stopped in her head. Slowly she opened her eyes. They quickly widened as she realized Izuku was inches from her face, giving her a nice view of his plump neck. She became lost in a trance as her sharp canine teeth grew larger and her nails grew sharper. She was losing the battle, but at the same time she gave up. She had very bad habits. Please tell me if Izuku was cut off as he felt a sharp pain on the right side of his neck. He looked down to see Toga was biting him. It wasn't a nibble or a playful bite. It was a full-on breaking apart the skin bite, and it was beyond painful. Sharp teeth pierced his skin, tearing deep into the muscle. Her body moved on its own. She closed the distance between them. For a split second, every part of Toga's brain screamed to do different things, and one of them was to pull away, but that was soon overtaken by the sheer amount of pleasure she was experiencing. In that instant, all her worries and doubts were gone. It lasted for a good minute, but it felt like hours in her world. Izuku tried to push her away. He was feeling lightheaded. Probably because she was sucking a lot of BLD from him as it was dripping down her chin and all over their clothes. Toga felt his warm BLD going down her throat. It was burning with heat. She felt her stomach becoming on fire, but she didn't stop. She enjoyed the taste of it as it reminded her of the heat of the sunlight. She ignored the boy's struggles as he was pushing against her. That's it, bite harder. She didn't realize what was going on as her body was being possessed. She continued to dig deeper into the wound, which earned another painful yelp from the boy. Luckily for her, the next song that came on was louder. No one around them was paying attention. Toga, can you get off Toga? Izuku yanked the girl off his neck. He felt his skin ripped apart as BLD went everywhere. The pain was unbearable for him. He gripped her on the shoulders as he locked eyes with her. He was shocked at the state of her. WHYD. Did you do that for? BLD was dripping down her mouth. Her sadistic grin was wide, showing off her sharp teeth, which were stained with his BLD. Her eyes became crimson-colored as the pupils became cat-like slits, which freaked out Izuku. He ignored the swelling pain from his deep wound, trying to shake her out of her trance. Toga, can you hear me? Toga slowly came out of her possession. The first thing she saw was a horrified/worried look on Izuku's face. She became confused until she saw BLD flowing from his neck down to the ground. Immediately she knew what she did. Plus, I'm sorry. With tears running down her face, she got out of his hold and ran out of the establishment. She ignored the onlookers and the shouts of her name. She kept running and running, knocking people over and causing a scene. Toga, wait. While talk about some kiss, right? Death looked at the scene between the two in amusement, watching the girl practically run over people outside. DMN, she ripped a lot of skin off. Now that's gonna leave a nasty scar. War laughed at the scene before him. It was like a soap opera. Conquest, on the other hand, looked irritated at the situation. He was upset because he couldn't make an attack on the boy just yet, which really displeased him, but he had no choice. He must obey Lilith orders. SHT, this is boring. I want to see what he can do. Even though it's sundown, I wonder if he has any magic left to show us. Or I have an idea. He laughed evilly as he gained attention from the people around him, who looked at the large man weirdly. Mind your own demon business. He yelled amongst the humans, who by this point turned away in fear. What's the plan? War, still recovering from the sudden outburst, looked at him confusingly. I need you to use your power more on the girl. Conquest smiled evilly as the other two knew what he meant by that. Aw, this is gonna get more interesting. Death stood up from the table. Come on, let's follow her. Hey man, you're bleeding. Are you okay? Holy SHT, dude. Hey, someone call the paramedic center. This kid is bleeding from his neck. Some random guy put his hand on him, trying to hold the boy in place as a small crowd started to form around them. It was making Izuku claustrophobic, the eyes of the onlookers looking upon him. Listen, I'm fine. Please move. Izuku shoved him aside and ran past the group. He could hear them calling for him to stop, but he couldn't, jumping over a couple of trash cans and railings to get outside. He saw Toga in a distance, running fast like hell. She's fast, The pain in his neck intensified. Not wasting time, he took his glasses off, feeling his muscles slightly grow. His reserved magic started to fill throughout his body. On a quick thought, he channeled heat magic into his right hand. Painfully, he had no choice but to cauterize his wound. Was having second thoughts, but he could feel his side of the wound losing feeling since he was bleeding out. This is gonna hurt like a beach. Quickly slamming his hand on his wound, he yelped in pain as he pressed harder. He could hear his flesh sizzle as smoke was coming off of it. It was hard to do this while running full speed behind Toga, who now was just a few meters in front of him. Finally, after a couple more seconds, he removed his hand away. The pain was swelling as he looked at his new scar quickly. The color was brownish red. It flaked and cracked. It would have to do for now. Toga, please stop. He managed to catch up with her. Didn't help how she was maneuvering through the crowd in a fast pace, almost confusing Izuku on her exact position. After a couple more seconds, they came across a large fountain pool. Thank God a lot of people were near the entrance of the fair in preparation for the fireworks, so it was just them two in the area that he knew of. But what caught Izuku off guard was what happened next. Toga decided to jump into the fountain fish area, given that it was 3 feet deep and it did scare off the koi fish in the area of impact. Dang it, Izuku didn't even think and jumped in after her. He was lucky enough. The water was clean and not filthy. He rushed towards the girl who was trying to swim away. Please wait, stop. Izuku grabbed the girl from behind. She was fighting his hold and even elbowed him in the face in the process, causing him a busted nose. Let me go now, stop, please let me go. She still struggled, weaker than the last. Her sobbing continued. Her cries broke his heart. Izuku flipped her around and hugged her. The young teens didn't let go of each other. A crying Toga and worried Izuku filled the scene. "Please, I am sorry I didn't." The poor girl struggled to talk. She was choking on her words as her body fell limp against him. Izuku ignored a couple of stragglers that were looking at them in concern. He waved them off. His focus was more on Toga. She didn't want to look up at the boy. He slowly rubbed her back and worked his way up to massaging her head. Toga's POV, "Hey, it's okay, please look at me. Please." Izuku's calm words reassured me. With a heavy heart I decided to meet his eyes. They held no anger or hatred, only concerned and worried, which confused me. I caught a glimpse of his new wound. It was brownish red. It cracked in some areas. Dried blood also was around the edges. Indeed, it was very large as it went over his collarbone. I wonder if he used his heat quirk to castrate it quickly. Would make sense. I couldn't believe I left him with a huge scar. I didn't want to admit it, but I think it looks hot on him. I began to touch it but stopped as the boy flinched at the sudden contact. "Please forgive." I tried to struggle out, regretting the sudden contact. I was gonna let go, but hands snaked around my waist. A sudden kiss interrupted me. Lips were so soft as it was like cotton, but it was not a gentle kiss. This kiss was rough, one filled with nothing but a genuine love and passion from what I can tell. It was something about how the kissed feels, and I want to happily kiss him like this all day if the option was available. Maybe a little BLD here and there. I returned the kiss with the same passion, feeling my eyelids grow heavy as I did so. Kissing this boy was like an intoxicating drag that made my body numb and weak. I couldn't help but bite his lip, and of course not too hard to cause bleeding, but man did I want it to. I could feel myself falling into another world. I'm more surprised on how he made such a bold move, but I didn't mind. Feeling all my worries, fears, depression being put on pause was different for once. I kissed many guys, but this was the first time I needed it badly. Hell, I can't believe I'm falling for this guy. Love really hurts, but I need more of him. I need more. As I slipped my tongue in his mouth. At first I can tell it caught him off guard, but he didn't reject it. I feel him pull me in closer. "You need more." The voice in my yelled again. I could feel that same feeling I felt during the dance. It's like my hand moved on its own. I grabbed his hand and pressed it against my 𝗵𝗃, keeping my hand atop his. Izuku tried to move away from this action. I went a little far, but I couldn't stop. My body is taking over my actions, not that I mind. Our lips remains locked onto each other, following him when he tried to pull away, and keeping his hand exactly where it was in place. This feels too dim and good, but, with a strong mental note, I was hosted in the air and onto him. It caught me by surprise as we broke the contact. He looked dazed and so lustful. I wrapped my legs around his waist for more support. Sadly, I was getting turned on by the hunger in his golden eyes. My heartbeat was pounding like crazy against my ribcage. Is that what I think it is? I could feel something large and hard poking against me, making me feel weak down there. I needed him baldy. Even if we were doing it in this water, I didn't care anymore. My lust was taking over my common sense. "Toga, I forgive you. Let's just stop this before we get carried away." He was breathing heavily. I knew he wanted me, but his demon reasoning kinda annoyed me. "Stop. You're the one who kissed me and started all this." I laid my head against his not wounded side neck. I was becoming exhausted due to the overexcitement. But, says the one that gave me a nasty hickey, he chuckled. I lifted my head to meet his gaze again. I couldn't help but feel sad at this. Why was it I feel sad over something like that? It's not the first time I've done it to other people. Why just him? "I'm really sorry about that, Izuku." I wanted to apologize and get it over with. Trying to get over my nerves, I took a deep breath. "Listen, Izuku, you're a real nice guy. In fact, one I never meet before, you know. I've technically been with others, but they didn't make me feel what you make me feel, you know." What the hell am I saying? Am I really gonna make speech? Tell him. I'm not those type of girls who are always happy and cheery for good reasons. I'm like a bottle of freaking emotions that don't know when to stop at times. I just have problems that are not normal. It was getting hard to breathe suddenly. I feel the same feeling I did earlier coming back. "Just tell me already. I know you weren't completely being honest with me this whole time," the boy quietly muttered. He put his hands on my butt to support me more, but I knew it embarrassed him. With a heavy sigh, I recollected my inner thoughts. This was going to be difficult. I could feel my head was pounding again. The voices started to act up again and some I didn't even recognize. Remember about my quirk, right? How I said I can change my appearance slightly. Yeah, it's a unique quirkies, this not your real form. Shush, these is my real form. Take it in because I know I'm appealing, but the truth is my actual quirk allows me to transform into anyone, from a child to an old person regarding genders. All I need in order to accomplish this is their BLD inside of me. I paused, noticing he had a gleaming face. Wow, that's an in-tier. I put a finger to silence him. I almost completely forgot he was a nerd for hearing other people's quirks. Even told me he kept journals of his recorded data. Such a dork. Let me finish. I have this sadistic tendencies, alright. It's not easy to live like normal people you see in the streets with their perfect life and families who live day by day in happiness while I suffer. I paused. I gripped my head in pain. I could hear a faint voice amongst the loud ones. Release your anger, child. Do it again. Let me help you. Let me iron. I tried to ignore it. I could feel Izuku trying to calm me down, but I couldn't. I never felt this before, all these DMN conflicting emotions. I pushed myself off of Izuku, landing in the water with a splash. I couldn't stop giggling. I felt my mind collapsing as my body didn't even help me. My laughter grew louder as it echoed throughout the area. Toga-yo. I glared at Izuku. I can tell he was creeped out, probably because my eyes started to become slightly red again, as well as my vision. My breathing was out of control. I could see red aura radiating off of me in waves I never knew I had. I noticed he shifted into a defensive stance, which really pissed me off for some weird reason. Do you know how hard it is to be normal, huh? What are you talking about? Izuku said. I could feel heat radiating off him. It was faint, but I knew what he was doing. The water started to bubble around him. I bet you wished I was like that, 𝗵𝗃 huh? Maybe if I had pink skin and stupid horns you will like me, huh? Maybe then I can be normal, right? Toga, that's not true. Please stop this. Please, I can smell another girl on you. I didn't want to say anything, but I couldn't keep it in anymore. Who the F smells like cherry blossoms? Is it your side beach? My head was pounding bad. These actions weren't mind what was happening to me. All this anger was bursting inside me. I could feel myself slipping away. Uraraka, cherry blossom girl, end of POV. Toga, please, she's just a friend from you. No. Izuku tried to reason with her, but that was a poor choice of words. Something just snapped in Toga. 𝗬𝗚𝗎𝗚. Toga dashed at Izuku. She threw the first punch. A right fist aimed right towards Izuku's face. However, Izuku was prepared for this and moved his left hand and simply parried the attack. That did not stop Toga, however. She continued to throw more and more punches, each getting stronger than the last. Yet no matter how many punches she threw and where she threw them, Izuku parried every single one of them with a bit of a struggle than the last one. Toga, stop. Izuku was shocked. He dogged another kick from her. She was getting faster and more animal-like with each attack. She switched to trying to claw out his face. He noticed something different about Toga. He felt another presence within her. It had the same intensity of his magic. Was it magic that was doing this? But from whom and where? Someone is controlling her actions with some type of magic. But who? He looked around his surroundings quickly but saw no one around. It was just them two that he knew. Wow, this girl sure does have the spirit of a wild animal. Conquest laughed as he was eating popcorn watching the young couple fight in the fountain pool. He was enjoying the little drama between the two. Do you actually think he will fight back? Hopefully, he does. I want to see how he can manage without sunshine. Maybe his girlfriend would kill him. Hey, War, can you use your power on him and make it more interesting? Death said as she was floating upside down, occasionally stealing popcorn from Conquest. Give me a second. Well, yeah, this girl has a lot of demon rage in her. It's kinda hard to keep her under my influence. She's trying real hard to break out of it. War struggled as his hand was glowing red with magic symbols. His ability allowed him to influence and control emotions such as rage, anger, sadness, and depression, all the negative stuff basically. Putting them in constant state of certain emotions, which can really F up a person's mind and their actions. He was manipulating the actions of the girl during the dance, the kiss, and now this. He loved toying with the emotions of humans. It was like a soap opera for him. But this girl was the first that was doing her best to resist, which surprised him. She really was a F up mortal. Let's see how this goes. Don't blame me if it doesn't work for too long. He pointed his other hand towards the green-haired teen. a red energy surrounded around him. "Stop F-dodging, I bet if I was another beach you would let me run into your F-arms," Toga yelled as they were now on the sidewalk. Toga was using wild kicks, but what matter what she did, Izuku would perfectly dodge and separate the distance between them two, not taking in a single attack. Toga was getting more angry each passing second. "𝗵𝗃 thinks I'm joking. Well then let's see how nicely he bleeds." She threw another punch aimed right towards Izuku's face. He was about to parry it when suddenly /BLD spewed everywhere from Izuku's arm. The boy jumped back away from the crazy girl as he examined his arm. The wound was deep and long. He looked up towards Toga. She was wielding a combat knife in her hand. "You wouldn't stop moving my Izuku, so I had no choice." She licked the blade clean, enjoying the metallic burnt taste. "Listen Toga, I don't know what's your issue but you need to stop or else." Izuku felt his magic depleted. He was now being filled with immense anger he never knew he had. He wanted her to stop but he needed to make her stop, and without sunshine it was going to be difficult. "Or what, you gonna pin me on the ground and have your way with me?" She lifted her 𝗕𝗓𝗍𝗔𝗍 shirt over her 𝗕𝗲𝗍 that were barely being contained behind that 𝗕𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍 of hers. "I bet you want shove you massive PP deep inside me. That's it." Izuku was completely out of magic, but still he rushed at the girl, who took a stance. He threw a punch at Toga but was slashed in the process in the side as she dodged gracefully. No matter how many times Izuku would attack, he would get slashed all over, and it was pissing him off. "Does it hurt? Do you feel pleasure? Because I do." Toga yelled out as she charged towards Izuku. She slashed towards Izuku's chest again and barely scratched his arm as he tried to swat the knife out her hand. Izuku finally struck Toga's jaw with his palm. Toga was beginning to lose her balance. Izuku took the chance and kicked her left leg, causing her to fall on the ground, but she recovered with lightning speed. Toga charged Izuku at full speed, swinging a right hook at the boy. Instead of hitting her target, she received a roundhouse kick in the stomach, causing her to cough up BLD, but as this happened she embedded her knife deep in the boy's right leg. Izuku yelped in pain. What's this sudden rage? I feel this isn't me. Toga, why the hell is she doing this? Why does she have a knife?" He yanked the knife out. Ignoring the pain, he threw it far away. Looking over to the fallen girl, she struggled to get up. She was covered in bruises and dried BLD. But what caught Izuku's attention was her eyes. They were slowly switching back to her original color as if she was fighting an inner battle. "Get out of my head!" She screamed as she slammed her head against the concrete floor repeatedly. BLD was dripping down her head as a deep gash was opened up on her forehead. The red aura was disappearing around her slowly. The voices in her head came to a stop. She was returning back to normal, no longer feeling this unwanted rage and anger. She relaxed while ignoring Izuku's calls. Izuku was about to run towards her fallen body but stopped as he heard laughter. Izuku heard it coming from behind him on top of the nearest building. His eyes widened as he saw 3 figures standing there watching them. He noticed the shorter male's hand was glowing the same color as Toga's weird aura. He could also sense it was the same magic. "Who the hell are you? Is this your doing?" He needed answers. Glaring at the shadowy shapes on top of the building, he could now feel the immense power that was radiating off of them. It was freaking intense. The 3 figures started to laugh amongst themselves more, which annoyed him. Izuku dodged a small rock that was thrown at him by the pale women wearing a weird animal shirt. "Get your asses down here now or what?" Suddenly the larger male with the weird mohawk appeared in front of him. His smug grin and demon eyes pissed him off more. He was looking down on the teen. "You're gonna do something, little man. Or was that big talk?" He leaned in face to face. Izuku could practically smell corn dogs from his breath, and it unsettled his stomach. "Name's Conquest, the Conqueror of Worlds. The creepy but lady over there is Death. Short guy over there that was manipulating your friend is War." Seeing him point to his comrades, each did a ovation dramatically. Izuku's gaze lingered more at War. So this 𝗵𝗃 was the one manipulating Toga somehow. He clenched his fist, wishing he can PND his face in. Izuku decided to leap back to gain distance. He could tell he was outmatched. They had a killing intent directed towards the teen. All their emotions, he could feel it as it sent shivers down his spine. Looking over to Toga, he noticed she stopped her crazed movements as she was laying on her stomach. Her eyes were halfway open as they returned to her normal yellow color. She was trying to crawl towards him in desperation. Away, she passed out due to the exhaustion. He needed to get to her. Aw, poor girl. She was a wild one, wasn't she? Death laughed maniacally. She pulled out a large dagger and started to cut herself on the wrist, which creeped the hell out of the hero because her BLD was literally dissolving the concrete ground, turning it black. What did you do to her? Izuku stepped in front of Toga in attempt to shield her. War stepped towards him as he cracked his neck back and forth and his muscles. Izuku got into a defense stance which earned a laugh from the Horsemen. Sorry about that, kid. Didn't really know your girlfriend had so much pent-up aggression. Who would have guessed she would rip your neck apart and try to key? Izuku didn't let him finish as he delivered a roundhouse kick to his gut, sending the man falling back a few feet, but he quickly recovered as he laughed it off. So you don't have any DMN manners, huh? Don't you know it's rude to interrupt your elders? He yelled out in anger. Izuku could sense him changeling his magic throughout his body, causing the floor around him to crack and shattered. Under the immense pressure, red sparks of fire surrounded him, encasing his body in a red aura similar to what Toga had, but this one was more fierce. You idiot. Remember, we can't hurt him. Didn't do anything stupid. War. Don't do anything to rash. Remember, she may be watching us. Don't worry, Toga, I will just teach him a lesson in manners. War then stomped on the ground, causing the ground to break and concrete debris to rush at the boy at high speeds. Quickly he recovered his daydreaming, running towards Toga, picking her up. He barely dodged the powerful attack in time with the unconscious girl in his arms. Please be okay, Toga, I will be right back. Putting Toga in a safe spot from a distance, Izuku got to his feet and charged at the man, throwing a punch while War did the same. They each caught the punch the other threw, now in a perfect hand-lock standoff. Haha, is that all you got, kid? Sucks when you don't have your magic during this time of the day, War said with a cocky grin. War took a step forward, pushing Izuku along across the ground. In retaliation, the boy dug his foot a little deeper into the ground. Doing this resulted in slight crack in his legs, which was very painful indeed. He tried to push with all the strength he had, but it still wasn't enough. Feeling his back almost touch the ground, he tried hard to resist, but War gave one final push, overpowering Izuku, sending him into the ground. The concert shattered like glass as the boy was embedded deep into it. What's the matter? Sucks being powerless, huh, without your sunshine. War was laughing. He was enjoying this, and besides, he was hardly even trying against the boy. How do you know about that? Who the F are you people? Izuku felt his fingers cracking as the man applied more pressure to the hold. It was like pushing against a DMN mountain. More on the important fact, how the hell did he know about his magic? Poor Izuku was so stressed he couldn't have any common sense at the moment. You really that stupid hullets, just say we're with Lilith, you dumps. With another push he sent the boy deeper into the ground, causing the boy to cough up BLD. The wind was knocked out of his lungs. He felt some rocks stab at his back harshly, and he was bleeding badly from the back of his head, feeling lightheaded and dazed. We finally found Escanor, but saddened at the fact he passed his blessing to a weak child such as yourself. Inexperienced you are, and also lacking a true warrior's 𝗕𝗗𝗓𝗓. War said smugly as he pushed his knee into the boy's chest. Applying heavy pressure, he cracked a couple of his ribs in the process. Death and Conquest watched in amusement, forgetting they weren't supposed to hurt the kid, but he will heal in the morning, so Lilith didn't need to know, right? Hopefully she wasn't watching them. My body. It's breaking. Izuku was in so much pain, he felt his body failing him. His bones were cracking and splitting due to the immense pressure. He wanted to give up, but he knew he couldn't. He needed to protect Toga. He closed his eyes in frustration, trying his best to cancel out the sounds around him, doing his best to come up with a plan, something or anything. Izuku didn't realize he was unconscious. Mindscape, so is that all you got, kid? Are you really gonna give up now? A female voice rang throughout his head. It sounded soft but heroic. Wah. He was confused as he looked around. Great blue skies with hues of pink, orange, and red surrounded the vast area. He stood up from the 3-foot water. It was so clear and pure. He bended down looking at his reflection. He was covered in bruises and knife wounds. Even his wound on his neck started to bleed again. It pained him to have this new scar. I see you like your reflection, you perv. A voice whispered in his ear which made him jump in the air and back away in a hurry. Whipping around, he caught the sight of woman. Who are? Izuku pointed at the women who came from nowhere. He caught the full appearance of her. And man, was she appealing. Her hair was dark and straight shoulder length. Onyx's eyes stared at me with curiosity. I let my eyes wander more. Her hero costume consisted of a dark, sleeveless bodysuit with a high collar, yellow elbow-length gloves, and white knee-high boots. Around her waist was a belt with an angular golden buckle, a small cape attached around the back which hung down to her knees, and over her shoulders was a longer cape. Damn, her curves and figured is so damn perfect, like a delicious ape. Izuku thought with a dazed blush on his freckled face. He didn't realize she can hear his thoughts. The mysterious woman suddenly steamed. She charged at Izuku and delivered a powerful kick to his stomach, sending the poor boy flying across the water like a pebble. You pervert. She landed next to a fallen Izuku whose face was scrunched up in pain. Lying face up, he saw this goddess above him again, causing him to sputter in a sorry rant, which seemed to just annoy her father. Will you shut up, kid? She slammed her hand over his mouth to silence the boy. We don't have much time left. Please be silent for this. I bet you have a lot of questions, right? Izuku muttered yes while he was trying not to drown. She really has a tight hold on him. Listen, my name is Nana Shimura. I'm the former 7th user of One for All and Toshi's former teacher. You're in a safe place for now in your mind. She paused, almost laughed at the funny stunned expression the boy had, but she needed to get to the point. Listen, kid, I know everything about you, since I kinda scanned your memories, and let me tell y'all, it was a lot to take in. I was going to do this later, but now it's a good time. She stood up from her kneeled postion and back away, holding her fist in the air. Do what? Wait, Toshi, you mean All Might? Hey, wait, so are you alive or dead? What's going on? The boy kept muttering fastly. His nervous antics were acting up again, which creeped out Nana. Shut up, she yelled, which stopped the boy once again. He looked at her wide-eyed. Get your butt up. A real hero never gives up in any situation. Izuku suddenly felt his confidence come back. His body took over. Standing tall and proud, he faced Nana. Given she was a good foot taller than him and muscular as hell, she smiled and rested her hand onto his shoulder. I know you can't use this sunshine ability when the sun goes down, and not to mention the toll it has on your body. I mean, magic, really. Still hard to believe, but it's whatever. Izuku felt energy surge through him as Nana's hand glowed pinkish red. What is this? Izuku became stiff. His body was overwhelmed with the force of this new energy. It swelled inside him like a tornado. Get back up and beat this guy. You have a long way to, young hero. Now your journey really begins here. Nana pushed Izuku into the water. He tried to yell for her but couldn't. He was swallowed up by the water and falling back to reality. Before he came out of it, he heard her final words. Take pride in what you are. And remember, a person who smiles in this cruel world are the strongest. Izuku didn't realize his body was moving on its own. It crackled with red lightning as his veins glowed bright orange. His muscles tightened and bulged. He activated One for All without knowing it. With little struggle, he yanked his right hand out of War's hand lock and delivered a powerful blow to his chest, catching the man by surprise. Shock didn't really convey what was going through War's mind. He had actually felt pain from his punch. He was more confused as why the boy was covered in red sparks of lightning. What? That actually hurt you, little? What the hell, your magic should be gone for the day. First off, I'm not a weak child, Izuku started. I realize that you are a formidable opponent, but don't take me lightly. They locked eyes, fiery orange ones meet crackling golden red. I will defeat you and Lilith and send you all back to hell. He released his other fist from War's hand and delivered another powerful blow to the stomach, sending him into the air, with Izuku jumping after him. After a second, Izuku had jumped using One for All to get above War and deliver a powerful kick to his back, sending him crashing into the ground below. The force of the impact sent gusts of winds throughout the area as debris went all over the place, resulting in a huge crater. Izuku landed next to the crater. He examined over the fallen warrior, who recovered from the attack. He was covered in dirt, blood, and sweat. His clothes were torn all over. One of his arms also looked broken as it hung loosely to the side. Izuku got into a stance, feeling One for All coming back to him. He charged it up in his fight as he was prepared to deliver another blow. Well, it seems you have another power. This just got more exciting. Hey kid, I take back what I said earlier, you do have a warrior's heart. War started to walk away in the opposite direction towards his comrades. Where the hell are you going? Izuku was going charged after him. He channeled his power into his legs, ready to lunge forward. Hey kid, be smart about it. Don't you think your little fight wasn't loud and destructive enough to alert the people in the area nearby, not to mention the other real pro heroes in that fact? Death said. She opened a black portal in the ground. She and War jumped in it to God knows where it lead to. Hey kid, next time we meet you'll be fighting me. Hope you're ready. With that, Conquest waved the boy goodbye, leaving through the black portal as it closed behind him. It was silent once again. Izuku was mentally worn out and physically, his body was aching and sore from using his new power. He didn't realize it was going to have so much of a backlash on his body. He examined his arms and they were swollen red, and his legs, he could feel the fractures of his bones every time he moved a little. Izuku whipped around to see the girl, but she was nowhere to be found. He looked left to right, nowhere in sight. He was worried if she was blown away from the force of his attack. He was about to jump in the air to get a better view of his surroundings until his phone went off. What the hell? He pulled it out. The screen was cracked and busted, but he could still use it. His eyes widened when he saw the caller ID. Toga, are you okay? Where are you? The other line was silent, which worried Izuku more. What if she was dying or something? Toga PL. Shut the hell up kid, you talk too dim and loud. A deep voice came from the other line. It was a male's voice he didn't recognize. Izuku, filled with anger, was about to accuse of this mysterious person of the location of the girl until... Hey kid, I'm Toga's older brother. I knew she was at the fair with you, so I tagged along in the distance to keep an eye on her. Sorry I couldn't help with your little fight, the voice said casually. Is Toga okay? And I'm sorry, so many emotions were going in his head at the moment. Yeah, she will be fine, just busted up, but she will he good. Listen kid, I think you should stay away from her for a bit. She needs to rest up. And oh please, I need to see her. I forgive her for everything, please, I need to make sure she knows. Izuku had tears in his eyes. He didn't know why he was feeling these intense emotions. She's not the person you think she is, very different from you, the man sighed. Listen, she will call or text you when she's feeling better. In the meantime, you need to get the hell out of there. There's heroes and police heading your way. The call ended. Izuku had forgotten about that. He could hear the sirens going off in the distance and shouts. He didn't have much time. With a painful grunt, he channeled a little bee of one for all into his legs and ran as fast as he could, jumping over the large fence the boy was running. His body was battered, bloody and sweaty, but he didn't care. He was worried about two things: Toga, and what the hell was he gonna tell his mom about his appearance, and not to mention his phone. SHT, I need to tell Escanor also. He's not going to be happy about this. Izuku ran off into the night, avoiding unwanted attention. His pleasant day became unexpected with this new outcome. What he didn't notice was a crow following him into the night as well. Its eyes glowed red and a faint laughter could be heard in the background. Poor Izuku was already a major target. Are you sure that was their names? Yes, and I technically fought war, kinda won but lost at the same time. Let's just call it a tie. This is bad. If the Horsemen are here, then Lilith is not far. The Horsemen? So what are these guys? Are they like her minions or something? Izuku groaned out the last part. He was sitting on the balcony with Escanor. Both were enjoying the full moon. Izuku was surprised Escanor didn't freak out when Izuku told him the news. Escanor had already had a terrible feeling for weeks that they were already here. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse were once part of the 7 seals of heaven. Each seal was a representation of a great disaster against the human race. The supreme deity created these 7 seals in case if all humans failed her and became evil. Only 4 out of the 7 were realized. The 4 riders are seen as symbolizing conquest, war, famine, and death, respectively in that order. The apocalyptic vision is that the 4 horsemen are to set a divine apocalypse upon the world as harbingers of the last judgment from the heavens above. Escanor paused as he glanced over at Izuku. He was writing in his notebook all the information Escanor was telling him, which was odd, but I guess it could be handy. Please tell me more about this. Izuku was fangirling over it. In truth, all this was like a movie for him. He managed to change into comfortable clothing. Thank God his mother was asleep in her room, because she would freak out to see him all battered up like this. Well, Conquest is their leader. War is their powerhouse, plague is the trickster, and death, well, you can't escape her easily when she's taking it seriously. Lilith freed them from their shackles in Heaven's Gate, and now they rain terror over the humankind from all different worlds. Wait, did you fight them? How was it? Well, they're the reason my team died and the Holy Knights. Izuku felt ashamed for asking a stupid question like that. He hung his head down until Escanor continued, the strongest one is death, believe it or not. She is on par with Lilith on magic terms, which is crazy, and Conquest is the weakest one, but don't let that fool you. His knowledge in tactics and combat make up for it. Also, if they're here in this world, then that means Lilith is not far. Escanor sighed in frustration. He leaned backwards against the door. He was reliving his past, which was painful. He felt a hand on his arm, making him look back over to the teen. How long do you think we have? Weeks? Maybe months, hopefully enough time to complete your training. We need to tell All Might about this. He could help big time. Yeah, that's a good idea, and guess what? Izuku stood up. He stepped a few feet back and closed his eyes. Even though his bones were hurting, he mustered through the pain. He remembered those words Nana told him and his purpose. He channeled a small portion of One for All into his right hand. It swirled fiercely with red lighting. His veins grew brighter as his muscles tightened. He concentrated the power surge into his index finger. He faced outwards of the balcony and stretched his hand into the sky. Izuku, whatever you doing? Escanor stood up. He was cautious of Izuku was gonna do. He can feel the pressure of this energy being channeled into his hand, and it gave him warning signs left and right. Just watch, old man. Wait, I don't think that's a good idea. Piercing star. Izuku flicks his index finger to create a powerful wind pressure shock wave into the sky. The force along shook the apartment and neighborhood as gusts of heavy wind flooded the area. Izuku and Escanor were pushed back a little from the pressure of the attack. They covered their faces, but what shocked them was that Izuku's attack was still going into the air. It pierced through several clouds in the sky and all the way into the atmosphere, almost like a bullet shooting through paper. Whoa, that was amazing, huh? That's the power of One for All. I finally got access to it. The boy was jumping up and down in excitement, ignoring the swelling pain in his finger, which was swollen red and almost purplish. Escanor smiled at the boy. He has never met a person quite like Izuku in his life, and he has come a long way. With sunshine and this One for All in the boy, he could be the one to save humanity from Lilith and any other threat. That was impressive, Izuku, but Escanor pointed outwards to the neighborhood. Nearby car alarms were going off and people came out of their homes in search of the cause of it. Police sirens were heard in the distance. Which only meant one thing. Escanor, where the hell are you? Inko yelled from inside the apartment. She was awoken from a loud bang and the shaking of her bedroom. She assumed it was earthquake, but she knew better. Shay's gonna flip if she sees me like this. What do I do? He was panicking. He thought about jumping off the railing and have Escanor lie for him. But he couldn't. He needed to start being responsible, even if it meant getting in but whooping. Mom, we're out here, Izuku called it. He waited for his mother to come, and sure enough, she almost ripped the patio door off the hinges. Inko practically ran into the boy's arms, almost knocking the both of them over the railing. Are you okay, my Izuku? She was going into mother bear mode. You didn't tell me you were home. How was your day? Did you have F? Inko paused her questioning. Grabbing Izuku's face with her hands, she almost cried. She saw the bruises on his face and the huge red-brownish scar on his neck. Her heart ached at the sight of her baby boy in this state. Suddenly it was replaced with rage and anger. Who did this to you? Mother Peely. Who the freak pickle did this to you, Izuku? Tell me now. She got in his face. He almost didn't recognize his mother in the moment. Her face became dark and her eyes became cold, like if it was lifeless. Sent chills down his spine. Well, it all started like this. Izuku led his mother to sit in one of the patio chairs. He stated but reluctantly accepted as Escanor came up behind and placed his strong arms on her for comfort. Izuku explained his day from meeting up with Toga, riding rides with Toga/playing, jumping into the dance, and mentioning how he got his new neck wound. She bit you on the neck. What the hell? Mother, please let me finish, and I forgave her. It's a long story, so please just listen. Izuku continued on to how he chased the girl and kinda had a fight with her, showing his mother his wounds that healed already thanks to Escanor. He continued on to explain about the other magic users were controlling his friend and how he battled one and basically tied. So that was your day, huh? You had it rough, my baby. Inko sighed in her arms. She was feeling upset at the sight of her boy, but she needed to understand stuff like this is gonna happen to her little hero. More frustrated on the part of other magic users, she turned to Escanor. How long do we have before they come for him? Let's go inside, I will explain it as best as I can on the situation. Escanor extended his hand out, and she gladly took it with a small smile. Izuku and your mother will be inside. In the meantime, please stay home and don't leave for no reason unless I go with you, do you understand? Yes, sir. I will text All Might to come in the morning. Is that okay? Izuku leaned back against the railing looking at the other two. He couldn't help but smile. Escanor was the father he never really had, and he was glad he took charge and was not pathetic. His mother and him need a strong figure in their lives. Yes, that should be fine. Good night, Izuku, and please set your alarm clock this time. With that, Inko proceeded to go back inside with a tired Escanor trailing behind. Izuku turned around and took in the view of the moon. He was remembering everything that happened today, crashing like a tide wave against his brain. Please, Toga, please be okay. He kept his smile, remembering Nana words. Speaking of her. Is she still inside me? Villain's bar. What the F happened to her? Shut up, you trash. Move aside, she's getting heavy. 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀𝗵𝘆 moves past a concerned Twice who was following the two into the break room. 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀 laid the poor girl on the round oak table as carefully as possible. She groaned in pain as she tried to move and lay on her side. Did that bastard do this? I knew it was bad idea for her to go with him, that son of a bit. Twice was interrupted by a right punch to his face, sending the man flying out the door into the counter area. 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀 hated when people talked too much, it always gave him headaches. He turned back to Toga, whose eyes were barely open. She smiled at him and he returned it. You were roughed up by this kid, can't believe you went down with one kick. 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀 teases the girl who was trying her best not to laugh. Fu. CKU, he's stronger than he looks. Thank you for snatching me up like that. Toga started to tear up. All of her events from today came crashing down on her, overwhelming the girl. I just wish he doesn't hate me, you know. 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗔 that ruined our date. Did you get their names by any chance? From what I've heard, the man that was controlling you, his name was War. He was manipulating your emotions, which I assume is why you acted like a crazed beast. He pulled a chair out and sat next to the girl. He was deeply angered by what happened to Toga but did his best to keep it in. Feeling his flames burst inside him, he was most glad Izuku protected Toga in a way to ensure her safety. But something was off. They were after him, you know, like they wanted to kill him or some SHT. Did you feel their killer intent? Toga shuddered at the memory of it. She never felt something like that before, which scared her a little but at the same time excited her. I know. We will just wait until 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀𝗏 gets back, but 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀𝗏 felt a hand on his shoulder, and on instinct he flipped around and had his hand encased in blue flames ready to blast the person away. Well, I was gonna knock, but I mean, I own this bar anyways. I heard what kinda happened. Care to explain more in detail, 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀𝗏 has a displeased look on his not-covered face. He made his way over to Toga, who was coughing up small amounts of BLD, which worries them too further. Toga, tell us your day and please tell me everything. 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀𝗏 rested 4 fingers on the girl's arm awkwardly. 𝗕𝗵𝗯𝗶𝗀𝗏 took a seat next to him, dispersing his flames out. Well, it all began at the train station. Time skipped. The last 2 weeks have been crazy for young Izuku, between training for the upcoming sports festival and preparing his body to handle more than 30% of One for All combined with Sunshine. Izuku, All Might and Escanor had been practically beating the SHT out of each other daily. They'd worked themselves to the point of exhaustion until yesterday, when Izuku's mother rained hell on earth on the trio. Since Izuku was basically covered in bruises and bumps daily, she couldn't take it anymore seeing him like this. They also found that his Sunshine had upped his body to handle the damage he endured almost regularly. He also began to work One for All into his heat magic, which seemed to act like an amplifier to what he could do, and it was powerful. It was a school day, and All Might and Escanor had given him a day off since the sports festival is in 2 days. During this time he still hasn't heard from Toga, which worried the boy more as it was stressing him out. He tried to call and even text her. He waited up all night to see if she was active on social media, but to his dismay nothing. He felt useless, but with a heavy heart he pushed it aside and focused on more important matters at hand. Now we find Izuku, Momo, Uraraka, Lita and Bakugo sitting together at lunch, the rest of Class 1A found out about the group fighting against the villains after they came back from their little break. Not to mention Mina spreading word of Izuku and his hot blonde date at the fair, which sparked drama amongst the class. To his surprise, Uraraka defended the green-haired teen throughout the week of others' comments. Who knew Uraraka could be so scary? And speaking of her, she wouldn't leave the green-haired teen side. She was really acting weird around also. You know, Izuku, I'm pretty sure you don't even have to train any harder than what you're doing. I mean, look at you. Uraraka grumbled as she sat next to Izuku. She pointed out all his wounds and scars he sustained from training. Momo and Ida seemed to agree with her, which sent Izuku to chuckle a bit awkwardly as tried to eat his pasta. Ignoring the concerned looks of the others minus our annoyed-looking Bakugo. Yeah, Izuku, I mean the only challenge you have are Todoroki and Bakugo, also bringing to that fact. Momo said calmly as she now had her attention towards Bakugo. You also need to stop your ruthless training also. Your palms are practically scarred badly. She yanked his swollen purplish palms and smacked them, which earned a painful yelp from him. He yanked his arm back and glared towards Izuku. Whatever, I can take on Deku with one hand behind my back, not to mention 𝗕𝗶𝗯𝗹𝗶cie, but when I grind his face into the dirt, he responded smugly, looking towards Izuku, who chuckled at the response as he adjusted his glasses. We will see about that. Don't live in a fantasy world, you idiot, Izuku shot back cockily. What you say, you four-eyed piglet? You heard me, you blonde bimbo. They each got up their seats and got into a head-butted competition, pushing each other back and forth, shouting insults. Sadly, their little quarrel didn't last long. Uraraka yanked Izuku back and delivered a slap to the back of his head as Momo did the same to her man, but added 2 more just for safe measures. Yes, I agree with what they said, you two. Y'all should take it easy and rest up for the remaining time. Ida added his 2 cents after the other 4 calmed down. Izuku's sweat dropped at how Uraraka was so strong and diamond she hits really hard. He looked at the others at the table and couldn't help but smile. Whether they like it or not, the 5 teens became the best of friends. Yeah, I guess you have a point, but either way I won't go easy on y'all, so be ready, Izuku said as he had a mouthful of pasta. Same goes for me, so you better buckle the fudge up because there is no allies, you scrubs. Bakugo continued, in sync with Izuku eating his own pasta. The other 3 couldn't help but smile at the two. They sure had a weird friendship, they all thought. Izuku looked towards Uraraka, who started to talk amongst with Momo and Lita about a new anime show. He didn't realize he was staring at her almost as if he was lost in a trance. Man, she's so appealing. Don't think that way about her, she's just your friend, remember that. Day of the sports festival. The sports festival stadium was a magnificent sight to behold, resembling a traditional old Olympic stadium in pretty much every detail, from golden columns to thousands of seats built for the spectators. While the third-year competition is traditionally the most popular amongst the crowd, the USJ attack had drawn the public's attention to the first-year competition this year. It has also caused an increase in massive security, including a higher number of pro heroes in attendance than usual, and they were pumped up to see the skill of all these new students. Izuku leaned back in his chair, watching over his classmates trying to keep themselves busy and distracted. In fact, even his friends were a bit nervous, including Bakugo, who was drinking water bottle after water bottle as Momo was trying to calm him down. Their prep room had been well stocked with simple furniture, snacks, flat-screen TV and water bottles, while minus a lot of water bottles thanks to the explosion quirk user. He took a deep breath to calm himself. It wasn't worth getting worried now. He would have to go above and beyond today and no holding back. Izuku, Shoto said. The half-and-half quirk boy stood in front of Izuku's chair. I look forward to facing you in this tournament. You have proved yourself that you are indeed one to be reckoned with, but I have learned from our last battle, and I'm aiming for the #1 spot in the hero charts, and I won't lose against you. I guess everyone has their own dreams, huh? Well then, I hope to meet you once again on the battlefield, Izuku said, a grin on his face. Yeah, see you there. With that he left with a small smile on his face. Uraraka turned to Izuku. He considers you a rival. Well, I should not be surprised since the last time we fought him. Yeah, that was some outcome, right? I couldn't do it without you, Uraraka. Thank you for being there for me. He smiled at the brunette, who flushed at his compliment. The real thanks goes to you. You really have helped me improve much more than you think. Izuku nodded at the blushing girl. but before he could reply, he heard the announcement for them all to come to the entrance. Looking around, he saw his classmates were still a bit overwhelmed by the pressure as their nerves were taking the best of them. Izuku walked up to the door and turned to the class. "Well, what y'all waiting for? Get your asses out there and let's have some fun." With that, he proceeded through the doors with Uraraka trailing behind him like a puppy. The others took note of this, feeling the confidence they need. They all followed one by one, each saying a small prayer to Kami herself. Soon enough, Class 1A was led to the southern gate onto the stadium's floor. They listened to present Mick's welcoming speech until he said, "And now the athletes. First is this festival's favorites. The 4 students who fought off a villain attack on the USJ with incredible power, from Heroic Course, Class A. They emerged from the gate and stepped out onto the grass field. Izuku in front of his class, followed by Uraraka, Lita, Momo, and a stubborn Pooh. They had their heads up high, all looking to where the pros were sitting, and stared determinedly. Following them is Heroic Course Class B, and then Classes C, D, and E from General Studies. Classes F, G, and H from the Support Course. And of course, the Business Courses. I, J, and K. Present mic finished as the students congregated in the stadium grounds. A stage rose from the ground and a female hero dressed in leather and 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 walked on, which made all the boys and some girls to blush at the sight of her juicy curves as she carried a small W. Alrighty everyone, listen up, we're going to get this started. The first event is the qualifier round where many dreams are crushed and many of you will be sent home crying to your mommies. This year's event is..." She pointed at the very large screen above the arena, which flashed and showed Obstacle Course. The first preliminary event is an obstacle race between all 11 first-year classes, through a near 5 kilometers long course around the entire stadium. Aside from leaving the course, participants are allowed to use their quirks to the fullest. The first 42 students to finish the race will earn the right to advance and participate in the next event. So best of luck, kids, and remember, I wouldn't get buddy-buddy with your classmates. With that, the rated R hero walked off, her butt jiggled and shook with delight, causing many wandering eyes. Izuku watched as everyone turned around and stood in formation as the gate of the stadium was slowly opening. The first test was designed to eliminate the weak out of the competition, by pitting themselves against each other in this sense of fashion. Izuku looked at the narrow pathway and suddenly he had an idea. "Let the games begin." Present Mike's voice rang throughout the area. Izuku ignored the whistle and shouts from the crowds. He jumped back and let everyone else pass him, which caused some commotion in the audience. His action caused many pro heroes to talk amongst themselves. What the hell is he doing? Does he know he's supposed to run for it? What a clueless kid. He's probably got cold feet. Come on kid, go, I bet money on you. Izuku took off his glasses, his muscles tightened against his uniform. He kneeled down into a runner's start position, stretching out his back leg in front. He then focused 15% of one for all into his legs in order to do a powered single sprint. Red crackling lightning seemed to erupt from his body. It vibrates the ground below him as the dirt and nearby rocks started to magically float in the air. I hope this place has insurance. Izuku bursted forward like a cannon shot, passing through the immense crowd, even passing Todoroki and Bakugo. His sudden powered sprint shattered the ground around him as the force of it sent huge winds among the crowd, who were shocked in surprise, especially the pro heroes. In his favor, he still generated high-pressure winds as he kept going, which blew everyone else behind him away as some struggled to stay on the ground. Commentary box, Aizawa. Holy hell, your student is a monster. What does he eat for breakfast, and what kind of boost was that? Present Mike screamed at the tired-looking man. Aizawa simply gave a smirk and gave a quiet reply. Midoriya Izuku is one unique boy and also played a huge part in the USJ along with a few others. I wouldn't be surprised if they completely blew us away with their skills, and not to mention their self-egos. His voice was laced with annoyance, but he couldn't help but feel pride of the kid. Well, there you have it, folks. Today is gonna be a action-packed tournament. The crowd cheered in uproar, even some heroes as well. Back to the battlefield, Shoto looked up and saw a green-red blur pass him. He knew that it was Izuku, deciding to take it up to the next level, but before he could, he saw movement far up ahead, huge robots blocking the way, all armed with weapons. He also noticed that Izuku had slowed as well. Taking this chance, he used his quirk to boost him forward ahead. Let's see if he can manage now. Ice shot from his feet, giving him a boost that only left him a few meters behind Izuku, while simultaneously slowing the rest of competition down behind him, who were pissed by this point. As Izuku stared down the robots, he knew that he'd have to finish them to keep his lead. He raised his arm up and channeled heat into his hand. Scattered star shot. A bright light blinded the area. He shot out 5 mini-suns out his hand as it was heading fast into the air and struck the robots. A powerful violent explosion rocked the area, sending massive heat waves everywhere as most of the robots exploded from their circuits overloading. The crowd cheered on as they watched this kid destroy 5 robots like it was nothing. The rest of the competition suffered another violent wind which blew some away. Shoto, on the other hand, formed a tidal wave of ice to stop the robots. This led to the robots to be frozen in place and some unbalanced, causing them to topple over the sides of the pathway, causing it shake violently, as well as it knocked some students on top of each other. Also in his luck, he managed to catch Izuku in the attack which blew him to the side. That demon little snake. Izuku melted the ice creeping up his leg. He groaned at losing the lead. He saw others pass him in a hurry. Lita managed to catch up with his turbo-powered legs, and 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝗍 using his dark shadow to propel him at high speeds. He continued onwards, and now he was in 5-foot place. He could hear the crowd cheers from way up ahead. Man, Izuku lost first place. Well, he still has a chance, hopefully. Izuku looked around, trying to catch his breath as he cursed himself for not being more alert. Come on, you can outrun these slowpokes. He grunted. An idea formed in his mind. He knelt to the ground and channeled 20% of OFA. He launched himself forward. If I can just get a perfect angle, I will adjust the terrain to my advantage. He yelled to himself as he was flying through the sky past Ida, 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝗍𝗁, Shoto, and a pissed-off Bakugo. What the hell? Bakugo yelled as he soared past them. As he smashed into the ground, he turned around towards the group in a quick motion which caught everyone off guard. Piercing star. Izuku flicked his index finger outwards to all the remaining competitors. Bakugo and Shoto raised their arms up thinking he was gonna attack them, but boy were they wrong. His attack struck the ground in front of them, sending a shock wave throughout the ground, causing it to rip apart. This action caused the mines to explode all at once. The force caught everyone in front of Izuku in the blast. Pink purplish lit the sky up, followed up with screams. His sudden attack worked in his favor with just a 100 between him and victory. The aftershock force of his attack launched the boy backwards, making him lose his footing as he painfully skid across the finish line like a rag doll and kept going. Finally he came to a stop. Rolling over to his back, he tried to get up, but his body was just so lazy at the moment. He heard cheers from all around him. His vision was blurry at first, but it started to become clearer. Izuku Midoriya is the winner. What kind of strategy was that? Holy CRP. Present Mike and the other pro heroes looked clueless on such a reckless idea, but it did work in his favor. They just hoped the other kids were alright. Izuku stood up, brushing off all the dust and dirt he could off his uniform. Behind him, everyone was starting to fill in the stadium, and he could hear some of them grunting in pain as they wobbled in, small burns and frizzed hair. The nurses came and started nursing their injuries. He clenched his fist in delight. Well, that surely was an epic entrance if I do say so myself. He looked around at the immense volume of the crowd as they cheered his name on. He smiled and waved at a few individuals. He felt acknowledged, and it felt good. Hey, Izuku, that was freaking awesome. I almost blew away into the sky, but lucky Tsu pulled me back in, Uraraka squeaked as she slammed a hand onto his shoulder. You are so reckless. Her bright smile made him feel funny in a way. It was different from how Toga makes him feel, but the same in the ending result. These past couple of weeks he's been getting more closer with the brunette, even started spar against each other when they had the chance. Toga was the crazy wild one, while she on the other hand was calm and mellow unless you pisses her off. Well, it would be sad if you floated away like a balloon in the sky. He smirked at the girl. She lightly punched him in the shoulder, smiling, you but... She stood next to him and looked towards the stage, ready for the next event, as Izuku did the same. Alrighty now, the first 42 to reach the stadium while the others were locked outside. Anyways, shall we move on to the next round? Don't worry if you didn't pass, there is always a next time. But for the rest of you, better buckle up because it's a cavalry battle. Midnight on the stage yelled out, causing her bub to jiggle once more. This caused confusion in most of the students as they had no idea what it was, and if they were going to be in teams though, they at least to pick their teams. Midnight could sense the confusion on their faces, and not to mention the perverted glares she was getting. Participants are to form teams with 4 maximum people, and then form a horse-like configuration. The objective is to swipe other teams' headbands while protecting your own, and each person received points based on their performance they did in the last test. The value of a team's headband would be the sum of the points each person on the team had. The person who ranked last would be worth 5 points, and each above rank would be worth 5 more points than the previous one, with the exception of first place of course, whose headband is worth 10 million points. She finished as Izuku, who was kicking dirt around his feet. This made everyone turn to Izuku, who looked up at their killer intent gazes, especially a blonde-haired psychopath. Midnight just made him public target number 1 and everyone was gonna be after him. It was good thing he didn't even care as he smiled at the group smugly. Uraraka on the other hand was glaring at everyone who looked at him with malicious intent. Now, the rules are pretty simple. The one to wear the headband must be the rider, and they are not allowed to equip it in any areas below their neck. Should the team lose their headband or crumble as a horse configuration, they will still not be eliminated because the objective of the game is to have the most points in the end. Participants are allowed to use their quirks, but should not attack with malicious intention of harming another participant. They'll be forced out of the game and will be dealt with accordingly. Now you have 10 minutes to form your teams. Get going, kids, and remember, no pressuring others. Izuku turned to Uraraka and with a nod, they went to a secluded portion of the field. After which they assessed the situation. It was Uraraka that started the conversation. Izuku, the only thing we should do in this situation is make sure we don't lose our headband. Everyone is gonna look for us in the end, so we have to choose wisely. He nodded. He felt a poke on his shoulder. Turning around he saw Ida. I hope I can join you guys if that's alright. Everyone will be gunning for you, Izuku, so I will do my best to keep you safe, and with my turbo boosters we can make quick evades here and there. He finishes with a serious look, pushing his glasses back up. Uraraka chimed in, although one thing is that if our movement is limited and if we are in a tight spot, I will be able to use my quirk to make us weightless. With your quirks you can propel us all over the field if needed. Izuku agreed with them too, but just one issue. They needed one more person on their team, but who? He scanned the area left and right, noticing teams already formed. He was about to give up until his eyes landed on someone. Come on guys, let's go get our 4th teammate. Ida stood in front of the formation of his team, acting as the speed of the formation for quick evades and runs. Uraraka was right rear, because her quirk would come in handy to make them weightless in order for Ida to run at full speed without drawbacks. A new addition to the team was 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵. With his dark shadow glaring out and ready for action, they would be the defense they needed. Izuku was on top, for he would obviously be the sword in this case. He was surveying the area, watching across the field at the other teams who all seemed to be facing right at them. It was rather clear what the first few minutes of this battle would be like. Teams such as Bakugo, Todoroki, and Shuji were going to be the annoyance against them. 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵 was very surprised Izuku picked him as a teammate. Not many people approach him because of dark goth-like nature, and not to mention his crow-beak face was displeasing to some. In the end he was glad he decided to join a powerful team such as this one. He couldn't wait until he shows what he can really do with his dark shadow. Not only was he going to need to be at his most alert to keep his team safe, but he would probably be shown with Izuku, Uraraka and Ida across the whole country and a few others. He felt nervous because what if his parents were watching? If he fails, then he would be laughed out and be disowned from the family. He didn't want that. He would have to do his best at protecting his team and also rely on Izuku. They both needed to be the big powerhouse. Remember guys, we're gonna be target number 1, so be aware of the surroundings, use it to our advantage and don't let them corner us. You all have a major part in this formation. I believe in you. Izuku's encouraging words gave them the motivation they needed. The group had to advance. They needed this more than any of the others in the stadium. And that meant beating their classmates in order to surpass them. In the end, only 16 would survive. The rest would have their hopes crushed in an instant as they have to watch others achieve 2 greater heights. Alright, it's time for the final countdown. Midnight called out from the stage. Her stuck smile melted all the boys' hearts away. Alrighty, let's go kick some butt. Izuku yelled out with a laugh. Hell yeah, we got this. Uraraka replied. Let's run over the competition, Ida excitedly said, powering up his turbo engine. You can count on us, we got your back, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵𝐵 stated, Dark Shadow giving a quick salute up towards the team. And so they all glanced up to the timer that had appeared on screen until start. 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵𝐵 quickly glanced towards the closest of the groups that had turned towards them. 𝗬𝗪𝗓's team was charging towards them, and another one from Class 1B group were charging forward as well in a hurry. Come, let's get them, we can take them. I'm going to need that headband, Izuku. Your assess are done for Class 1A. Ida took note of this and prepared for it. Izuku, what would have us do? He asked hurriedly. We gain distance away from them, of course. Izuku replied back hastily. Ida was about to burst forward away from the groups, only it was in that moment the ground beneath them suddenly began to soften like sand, Ida's feet beginning to sink into the battlefield, his wide eyes shooting down with a fierce glare. What the holy heck, we're sinking, Uraraka cried out. That must be the guy's quirk, she said, gesturing with her head towards the Class 1B group where the skull-faced boy with weird white scrappy hair smiled at them creepily. Hold on, everyone! Izuku shouted, the only warning that was given before they felt immense wind pressure behind them. They suddenly found themselves launched through the air, barely any weight to their ascent, as Uraraka grinned at the success of her quirk being more useful in this situation. She had decided to lighten the load with her quirk, ensuring that they were only carrying her weight, making them all considerably lighter in the process. As Izuku used his OFA to propel them in the sky, the damage of his attack almost blew two other teams off their feet, but definitely blew apart the ground below. Jayu, strike them. The invisible girl shouted from her spot. The rock and roll girl whipped her head up. She sent her earphone jacks towards them, ready to slam against Izuku's backside. 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵𝐵 felt his dark shadow swing around behind them, slashing at the earphone jacks with his claw, sending them right back down to Jayu, who looked stunned at the deflection. Not many of his classmates really understood the full potential Dark Shadow, so they deemed him not a threatening target, but man was he ready to prove them wrong today. Well done, Dark Shadow, he praised. Keep covering our blind spots, make sure no one gets too close. You can count on me. Dark Shadow replied confidently as he mocked saluted again. That's the defensive power we needed, keep up the good work, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵𝐵 and Dark Shadow. Izuku said excitedly. But now we're going to be in close quarters, so be on the lookout. Of course, it was the first time Izuku had seen the versatility of his quirk as well. He couldn't help the small bubble of pride in the pit of his stomach as they continued to soar through the sky. Uraraka decided to sneeze out of nowhere, and her quirk was no longer effective as she lost concentration. Oh 𝗧𝗵𝗲, I'm sorry, we're coming in hard. Uraraka shouted. Wasting no time, Izuku channeled sunshine through his body. The others felt small heat radiate off his body but didn't question it. Izuku created wings on his backside that resembled a fiery phoenix. It looked like it was made out of fire and was bright like the sun. His wings flapped powerfully as a gust of wind broke their fall, landing gracefully. The rest of his cavalry were shocked at this new development. Not to mention everyone else in the stadium, as Present Mike was freaked out and commenting on the overpowered boy, which earned awkward cheers from the crowd. Holy hell, what was that? Uraraka exclaimed, noticing his wings disappearing. Whoa, Izuku, you have wings now. Ida whipped his head back, noticing the rather large fiery wings disappearing. 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵𝐵 agreed as he felt Dark Shadow shuddered away in fright from the bright light. Yeah, I learned how to do it last week. Took a bit, but I was able to accomplish this with the harsh training I did. I can create swords, shields, and even javelins using my heat. Crazy, right? He chuckled proudly as he felt high and mighty, earning laughter from the other four at the amazement of this boy. You're not escaping us. A voice from behind put them on high alert once again. Dark Shadow reared up, slamming his claws in the direction of the boy from Class 1B with similar quirk to Kirishima, but his was hardening of steel as his whole body was metallic silver. Dark Shadow and the metal guy were battling it out, each throwing powerful blows one at each other. Unknown to them, 𝗵𝗃 was speeding towards them, arms encased in some sort of cocoon barrier, glaring at the group with a cold like ice to his gaze. Dark Shadow was still fending off the 1B horse, which meant 𝗬𝗪 had a clear shot at Izuku. Shuji's alone. Izuku called out in confusion. Unless, Izuku. Ida snapped, the haste in his voice was foreign to him. We must keep our distance. Fighting multiple foes is a bad idea. I can keep going. That was when Uraraka squeaked, all eyes glancing back to see what had caused her discomfort, their breath hitching in his throat as a familiar purple grape-like ball was stuck against Uraraka's foot, holding her in place as she tried to struggle out of it. I'm stuck, see? She called out, her eyes desperately glancing to Izuku for some sort of solution. I had a feeling that little weasel was in there, Izuku said darkly, his eyes bore through the slight crack in Shuji's cocoon. He saw it before any of the others, the flash of an iris in the dark, the creeping feeling of an absolutely disturbing pervert watching them. That revulsion that was reserved for the depths of his disgust for the one known as 𝗵𝗃𝗧, whose eye was peeking out of Shuji's cocoon like some sort of sick old little cockroach. In here is Izuku-kun, 𝗵𝗃𝗧 chuckled deviously, firing more of his grape ball towards the group, dark shadow swooping around to block most of the incoming grapes. Izuku's eyes darted to the 1B team that dark shadow had been fending off, although as he turned, something sharp, bright pink and wet sliced past his face, straight into the 1B group, causing them to veer out of the way. Good job dodging, Izuku, the familiar voice of Tsuyu called out from inside of Shuji's cocoon. Why the hell is she with that little demon? Izuku wiped the saliva from his cheek. It was gross and sticky and smelled acidic. It was upsetting his stomach as he tried not throw up. Tokoyami had a feeling that Shuji was going all out, but he couldn't defend off two teams with dark shadow at once. Not to mention Ida felt kinda useless at the moment, which angered him. Both were panicking, trying their best to find a solution, but stopped when they felt a hand on each of their shoulders. Looking up to meet the golden eyes of their leader, fire sparked with life in his iris, shining bright and filled with determination. It reminded them of the sun, which calmed the both of them down and reassured them that they still have a battle to win. Uraraka, hold still, as soon as I melt that grape thing away. Ida, I want you to charge out of here as it happens. Tokoyami and Dark Shadow protect our rear. Izuku shot a small heat wave towards the grape that instantly vaporized it. Although she was freed, the singed fabric and RBB brunt off of Uraraka's shoe where 𝗵𝗃𝗧 had got her was something to laugh about later. Half of her shoe was burnt but no damage to her. Uraraka cried out in freedom, "Ah, that feels much better." She looked absolutely annoyed at 𝗵𝗃𝗧, but sad at her shoe being half destroyed but still usable. Ida took the opportunity and rushed out of harm's way from the other teams, gaining the distance they needed to come up with another strategy. "Sorry about your shoe," Izuku replied, voice tense. "But we did manage to get away." He had to admit they had done just that. Shuji and his group were left in the dust. He only hoped he wouldn't have to face that little grape creep anymore. The minute time sure is running out. I wonder if Escanor and Mother are watching at home. I wonder where All Might is. He was so caught up in his thoughts, he barely had time to register the loud explosion and the roar of an angered child behind them, familiar voice that made his heat boil. "You're getting too cocky, you BSD Deku." Bakugo was surging towards them, intent on doing as much damage as possible, his horse formation nowhere in sight. Uraraka and Ida were more focused on getting out of danger, and besides, Ida couldn't come to a stop now. Dark Shadow. Izuku's voice was enough to surge Dark Shadow into action. Before Tokoyami could even command him, the dark mass swirling around to slam into their left side, meeting Bakugo's explosion halfway in a bright surge of light that left Dark Shadow reeling back in recoil, the light having momentarily stunned him as he feared it. "Dark Shadow, are you alright?" Tokoyami called out. He forgot just how powerful Bakugo blast attacks were, and it was unsettling to know he was no match for him because of Dark Shadow's weakness against bright lights. "What the F?" they heard Bakugo yelled as 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗔𝗍 tape flew through the air, dragging the boy out of sight as he was swinging his arms violently. "𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗧𝗏 hurts?" Dark Shadow winced in pain as his eyes were burning. Its body started to shrink smaller as it was scared to get hit another time by Bakugo blast. "Izuku!" Tokoyami called out sharply. Dark Shadow cannot afford another hit right now. Bakugo's explosion has left him damaged. Izuku nodded. "Don't worry, I can handle the rest from here. Let Dark Shadow rest for the time being. Ida, try to keep more distance from us and the other teams. Uraraka, help him as best as you can." 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄, since your visions and hearing are better than mine, I need your help on locating incoming attacks, he commanded rationally, the group slamming to the ground with a rough slide as Ida started to drift into another direction. You're a natural leader, Izuku. Thank you, 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄 stated as Dark Shadow gave one final salute and slowly warping back into 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄. No, I couldn't have done it without you guys. You each prove yourselves in this great match, and I'm honored to have you as teammates and to be your leader. His words made the other three blush in embarrassment, especially Uraraka, who was having fantasies about the green-haired boy but came out of it when she realized she's still holding him up. And it looks like Class B's 𝗵𝗃𝗲 has taken the hot-headed Bakugo's headband. What a turn of events, folks. Present Mike roared, the group glancing to the side, Izuku especially keen on spotting the Class B students all in the distance. Class B, Izuku muttered to himself. They are going to be a problem for sure. Should we keep running or attack them? Only when we have to, Ida cut in quickly. The girl with vines for hair and the boy with the quirk that turns the ground to liquid, they both placed in 5th and 6th, and they do seem to be formidable. Probably so, Uraraka chimed in. Sure, they have tough quirks, but with Izuku heat attacks we can manage against them. Either way though, I've had the impression that they want to take us down since before the sports festival. Bakugo didn't help things either when he insulted everyone, which may be why they hate us all. 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄 did have a point. You know though, there's a chance they're not necessarily dead set on targeting me since they see what we can manage. They have been going after all the other 1A teams. Izuku was interrupted, and in that moment, a cold breeze ran through all their spines. Ida halted completely, stepping backwards hastily as the seeping icy cold wind coming from ahead of them hit them full force, sending shudders down the three on the ground bodies. Izuku smiled widely, keeping his demeanor calm, for standing just ahead of them was the one team the others wanted to avoid except Izuku. Todoroki's cold eyes glared daggers at the group, Izuku's mind flashing back to Todoroki's words before the start of the festival. I won't lose against you. He was declaring war against Izuku. Ida, Uraraka and 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄 supposed they should have seen this coming. Involving themselves with Izuku was just asking for Todoroki to come running at some point, but for the first time in the festival, they felt not caring to be cautious or running anymore. In their stomachs they wanted to fight and prove themselves across the country that they are not weak. Perfect to go against Todoroki team since he was one of the strongest kids in the class. I didn't think Momo would join his team, thought Bakugo would beg her to be a part of his. Uraraka noticed Momo also glaring at them with confidence. Maybe it's because she wanted to challenge Bakugo. Ida muttered as he took another step back. Or maybe she finally realized he's a lost cause. Izuku finally muttered, their leader locking eyes with Todoroki. They knew a real battle was going to begin. We're coming for you, Izuku. Todoroki said it so coldly, so seriously. A girl at the front of the team, Izuku recognized her from the support class, 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗄. She watched the group with focused eyes, unnaturally menacing as 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄, Ida and Uraraka began to realize they were actually doing this. They were actually about to go up against some of the strongest members in the class. There they are. We got y'all now. That's when Todoroki and Izuku's gaze faltered, turning to the sides, 𝗕𝗁𝗵𝗄 following as he suddenly realized that most of the teams without headbands had begun to stare at them in hunger and desperation. And of course, leading the charge was Shuji's team. Looks like this won't end without a fight, Izuku growled in annoyance as the other groups interrupted them. Todoroki's team sprung into action, dashing forwards towards them with surprising speed from Mei's rocket boots. Multiple teams incoming, be on high alert. All of the teams rushed towards the two teams facing off, Todoroki glancing back before stating some words Izuku couldn't hear, although judging from Momo's arms raising and Kaminari grinning, whatever they had planned couldn't be good this time. Suddenly, a massive blanket appeared, draping itself across Todoroki's team as Kaminari roared loudly. That was all the warning they had as the golden yellow electricity of Kaminari's quirk rippled from his hands, sparking across the ground like a tidal wave to strike down all the teams approaching. He saw Shuji's legs falter for a moment, 𝗎𝗪 screaming Kaminari's name angrily as her headphone jacks sparkle with life, the Class 1B students getting zapped and yelling in pain. Moments later, the pale yellow light of Kaminari's electricity began to falter, only to be replaced just as suddenly by a burst of clear blue ice, spreading and forming across the ground where the downed cavalry teams were all standing. And Tokoyami and Ida couldn't help but stare at Shuji's team as the ice began to slowly freeze up Shuji's legs, which also caused Mineta to scream in a tantrum. "Damn it, my engines are overheated," Ida growled, the boosters sparking before fizzling out with smoke. "I guess there's a plan, right?" Tokoyami chuckled nervously. "Well, that's bad," Uraraka cried out, staring at the team ahead of them with some sort of determination. "Don't panic, guys." Izuku wasn't expecting a burst of fire, followed by a mini cannonball speeding past his head, grazing his cheek, resulting in a small cut. "Damn it, her creation quirk," he growled as she had a mini cannon next to her. She smiled.